Hi, my name is Katie. I'm from Suffern High School, and I'm sitting here with Mr. Milt Solomon, who is a veteran of World War II. Good afternoon, Mr. Solomon. How are you?
I'm fine. Glad to have you here.
Glad to have you answering the questions for us. Thank you for taking the time out to be interviewed for our World War II project.
What's that?
Thank you for taking the time out to be interviewed for our World War II project.
Well, I didn't volunteer for it. I was coerced.
Which division of the military were you part
Yeah, I
of?
was with the 36th Division from Texas.
Were you enrolled, did you enroll by yourself or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
What did you feel about being drafted by? Were you happy or?
I wasn't happy and I wasn't sad. Everybody had to do their duty. We were one country, very patriotic.
How did you feel when you found out you were going into active duty?
The same. I went. I went.
Where were you stationed at?
Initially, I had basic training at Fort McClellan, Alabama. And from there, I ended up in Casablanca, Africa. And I didn't stay there too long. From there, we went to Oran, which is also French North Africa. And then from there, we crossed the Mediterranean, and I ended up in Naples, Italy. Now, up to this point, there was no combat. I didn't know of it, etc. But from Naples, I went to the Anzio beachhead in Italy. And there I received my baptism of fire. And we ended up going through the mountains and we liberated Rome. And we went about 100 miles above Rome, and then we were called back for amphibious training. And after about a month or so, we traveled by convoy in the Mediterranean to southern France. We invaded that country, and we went all the way up almost to Germany. And that was my experience. But along the way, there were several adventures that I had. Okay.
What was your assignment in the military?
To fight. That was my assignment.
Did you have a special job that you were in?
No. No special job.
Yes, you did. How about the radio?
Well, that very briefly. Very briefly. I don't want to go into that.
Did you keep a journal while you were overseas?
Did I?
Keep a journal.
No. It's all up in my mind.
What were some of the challenges that you faced in active duty?
Well, fire from the enemy, heat, cold, snow, rain, and exhaustion.
Were you ever scared? Were you ever scared?
And frightened, yes. There's a saying in World War II, there were no atheists in foxholes, and particularly at Anzio, where I never heard artillery. I was in the foxhole with my buddy. It was the first time we suffered an enemy artillery barrage from us. And we both prayed. It was the only thing we could do. We prayed for deliverance. And we survived that barrage.
How are the living conditions in your camp?
Living conditions?
Yeah, where you slept and everything?
You slept wherever you were. Could be in a foxhole, could be underground, could be in a farmhouse, could be in a hospital if you were lucky, could be anywhere. You had no set place at all. You were constantly on the move.
Can you describe like a typical day for you over there? Like what did you do?
Were in combat or not combat?
Combat.
Combat, you would pull into a position, and if we were to stay there for any length of time, we would dig a foxhole for protection. And we just waited until the next order came. Either we're moving out or we're staying for overnight. And that was it. That was it.
What about non-combat?
Night combat?
Non-combat.
Non-combat? Well, non-combat would be a little better. You might have a tent to sleep under. You might have a mattress filled with straw. That was a luxury. And you might have hot food. That's non-combat.
Did you make many friends when you were overseas in the Army?
Well, the people that you were with them 24 hours a day. And they were called your buddies, your comrades. You saw them sometimes fall, die, get wounded. But you had no time to, you just had to go. And he was a Catholic. And I said, look, this medal was blessed by the Pope. I'm going to give it to you. And maybe it'll bring you luck. And he thanked me. And we went back into action. He was a good soldier, very good soldier. And unfortunately, he got wounded. And that's the last I heard of him. But when the Army sent us a booklet after the war, it had his address listed as High Street, New York. There's no High Street, New York. It really was Nyack, New York. See? And one day I read the papers, the Journal News, and it said an Anthony Ciancimino was joined the Federal Nyack, or the Nyack Federal Savings and Loan. And I said the same name, but I didn't do anything. Subsequently, his picture appeared in the paper. And he was now chairman of the Nyack Federal Savings and Loan. So I called him up, and sure enough, it was him. And so I spoke to him about 15 minutes, and then we hung up. Then he called me back, and he said, you opened up a Pandora's box, because he forgot a lot of what happened. But I had a good memory. And, that was it. And one day I was in Nyack on business, and I saw him. And he showed me his leg where he got hit, and it was black. Never healed. Right. And that was it.
Did he? And what about the medal?
Oh, I asked him about the medal. He said he still has it. But it's up in the attic. That's what he said. Yeah. And he didn't remember that I gave it to him. He didn't remember that.